Okay, on the test, you'll have a sheet of problems to do, and then you'll have a separate sheet to put your answers on. I'll remind you this tomorrow, but on the answer sheet, there's spots to do it 2 different ways. First way, second way. You only have to do it one way. All right? Yep, you can sure do it both ways. And then also on the one, yeah.
Can we go over the quiz before we do this so I know what I'm doing?
I can, not that quiz because there's still some people taking it.
Oh, can I retake it?
No!
It was just 2 points, Mason. Okay. So, also, some of them when it asks like this one, what are all the possible snacks? That's one where you can either do a tree diagram or a list. So again, on the test, there's a spot for you to do a tree diagram or a list, whichever you want to do. You don't have to do them both.
So like on the separate piece of paper, so like type.
Yeah, you'll get a sheet, yeah, and it'll say first paragraph, answer the question. And then it'll have first way, second way, but you only have to do one way. Okay. So on this one, you and 4 of your friends. So that means how many people are there? 5. Go bowling. You have to enter your names in the order you're going to bowl. How many different orders can your group bowl in? So again, the different ways you could do this is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And again, you do got to show what you're doing on the test. So you'd have to write that down. Or the shorter way is, what's the shorter way? Yep, 5 factorial. So you can either show this way or this way. You get the same answer because remember the factorial just means you start at 5 and multiply all the way down to 1. So the factorial key on these calculators are you have to hit the math key, and then up on the top they have different things. Way over on the end is PRB for probability. You scroll over there and there it's got all the probability stuff. The only 2 we use is the number 2, the NPR for permutations, and then number 4, the factorial. If you're using this one, the factorial key is above the 3. So it'd be 5, you gotta hit second function, 3, and you get 120. So when it asks how many different orders, you don't need to list them all. They're just wondering how many there are. So you gotta show how you did it. Now there's a third way you could do it. You could have used the permutation, 5, and then hit the NPR key, and then what number would you put in there? 5, because there's 5 spots. So those would be the 3 ways you could do it. Now this one, there are only 3 seats left in your lane, so 2 people will have to stand. How many ways in your group, again it's from this group, can the group sit in the 3 seats? So the 2 ways to do it is there's only 3 seats now. How many would sit in the first spot?
3, 2, 1.
How many people are there in the group? 5 could sit in the first spot, 4 in the second because someone's already there, and then 3. So then that's 60. The second way,
Oh, they keep going 5 and 3.
5, or you could do it 5 NPR 3 because there's 5 people, but only 3 can be used. And you'd get the same answer. Yep. Then this is the one where you've got all these choices, and it says, what are all the possible snacks? So this is the one where you either got to do a list or a tree diagram.
You don't actually have to do it.
You don't actually have to what?
Do it.
Well, you got to answer the question.
But this is just practice.
Huh?
This is just practice.
Yeah, this is just a review for you. So, to show this, you can have one pitcher of pop. The choices are Diet Coke, Mountain Dew, or Sprite. So, the tree diagram, you could have Diet Coke, you could just put DC, Mountain Dew, and Sprite. The second kind of snack, nachos, pizza, popcorn, or French fries. So each of these has to have 4 branches in. Nachos, pizza, popcorn, so I better put POP because we already got it. And, or maybe PC would look better. And French fries. Make sure if you just use a letter that you don't double them up. Because you can't use P for pizza and P for popcorn. They gotta be different things.
Oh, there's 4. How'd you just get booked?
And is that it? Just the 2 things?
1, 2, 3,
Snacks and
4,
drinks,
5,
yep.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
So this is all the possible things that could happen if you did the tree diagram. Now if you did a list, you could have Diet Coke and a nacho, Diet Coke and pizza, Diet Coke and popcorn, Diet Coke and French fries. There's those 4, and then here you'd have nachos and pizza, nachos, popcorn, nachos.
What else did you do? The pop?
Oh, I did forgot the pops, yeah. Mountain Dew nachos, Mountain Dew pizza, Mountain Dew popcorn, and Mountain Dew French fries. And then here it would be Sprite and nachos, Sprite and pizza, Sprite and popcorn, and Sprite and French fries. So again, the questions will say tree diagram, there'll be a spot for you to do a tree diagram, list, a spot for you to do the list. You just got to do one or the other, whichever you prefer. Okay? And then this last question says, use the fundamental counting principle to make sure you have the correct number of problems here.
Isn't that 3, 4 times 3?
Yep, so the counting principle is just here we have 3 choices, 3 different types of pop, and then here we have 4 different snacks. So it's just 4 times 3 equals 12. And again, show your work to show that this is the fundamental counting principle.
Wait, how do you spell it? Like that?
Right this, yep, 4 times 3 is 12. That just shows there's 4 choices and 3, I suppose I should put 3 first, but it really doesn't matter.
So is this gonna be like just like the test?
Yeah,
Is there just 4 questions? Or?
I think there's 5, but they're all kind of the same. Now I do want to show you one more tree diagram because some of it has flipping coins. So if you flip 2 coins, and roll a dice, or a die would be just 1. If you had to show the sample space, again you can either do a list or a tree diagram. The tree diagram is the easiest to do, and sometimes people get messed up when it's 2 different things put together like this. But if you flip 1 coin, what are the 2 things that can
Heads or
happen?
tails?
And then when you flip the second one,
6.
heads or tails? Heads or tails, right? So there you're flipping the 2 coins. Then you roll a dice. What can happen?
6.
1 through 6. So here's the tree diagram of this happening, which there'd be 24 different things because there's 6, 6, 6, and 6, 24. The way we do that, the fundamental counting principle is when you flip 1 coin, 2 things can happen. When you flip the second coin, 2 things can happen, heads or tails. And when you flip or roll a dice, 6 things can happen. 2 times 2 times 6 is 24.
Wait, what would be 4? Because you got 2 and then you got head, tails, head, tails.
Head, tails, 2
Like-
times 2 is 4.
No, because you're flipping, you're doing two things here. The first time, how many things can happen? Two. And then when you flip your second coin, how many things can happen? Two. And then when you roll a dice, there's 6 things. So you can see here, 24, there is 24 things that can happen. Heads, heads, 1, heads, heads, 2, heads, heads, 3, and so on. If you followed all the branches, there'd be 24 branches. Okay? So the test is really just like this. It's not long at all. It's just making sure you know how to do the factorial and the permutation and the tree diagram. Huh?
They're all.
Yeah, just like these.
What was that thing on the quiz?